If I hadn't noticed that tiny detail on my front door, I would have lost my entire house forever. And the craziest part? The people trying to take it weren't strangers. They were family. What happened inside my living room that day still keeps me up at night. And if you stick with me, you'll understand exactly why. My name is Daniel, and I've lived in my quiet suburban home for more than 15 years. Nothing dramatic ever really happened in my neighborhood, until the week everything changed. I had just come back from a simple 3-day work trip, the kind of trip you forget about the moment it ends. The sun was out, the street was calm, my yard looked the same as always. But the second I stepped out of my truck, something felt wrong. Not something I could point at, just a shift in the air, like the house itself was trying to warn me. I walked up to my front door, exhausted and ready to crash on the couch, but when I put my key into the lock, it didn't go in, not halfway, not even a little. I frowned, tried again, and the key refused to fit. My first thought was that I grabbed the wrong key. I checked my keychain. Nope, same key. Same house, same lock, except it wasn't the same lock. Someone had changed it. I knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. But then I heard it. Laughter coming from inside my home. Not nervous laughter. Not startled laughter. Comfortable laughter. Like whoever was inside was relaxing in their own living room. My chest tightened. I pounded the door. And finally it swung open. Standing on the other side was my nephew Jake. The same Jake I helped raise. The same Jake I gave money to. The same Jake who stayed in my guest room when he needed a place to live. That Jake. And he was smiling like he belonged there. Next to him, sitting on my couch with her legs crossed like she owned the place, was his girlfriend Mia. She waved at me like she was greeting a guest. Jake held the door open and grinned. "Dan, welcome back, man. Come in." I didn't move. I just stared at the two of them and said, "Why are you in my house? And why did you change my locks?" Mia leaned back against my pillows and said with this smug little smile, "We're staying permanently." Permanently. That word hit me like a punch to the gut. Jake nodded like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Yeah, dude, you weren't here?" "We needed a place, so we moved in. You've got extra rooms, it just made sense." I felt something boil in my chest. Anger, confusion, disbelief, but I didn't raise my voice. Over the years, I've learned something important. The calmer you are, the more the other person starts to panic. So I smiled, a slow, steady smile. "Well," I said quietly, "since you're staying permanently, you won't mind explaining that to the police when they get here." Jake's smile cracked instantly. Mia's disappeared completely. She stood up fast. "You're calling the police? Why would you do that?" I stepped past them and walked into my own living room. Because breaking and entering is a crime. Changing the locks on someone else's home is a crime. And refusing to leave when the homeowner returns is definitely a crime. The two of them stayed silent, exchanged glances, their confidence draining away. Something wasn't adding up. These two weren't just acting entitled. There was fear behind their eyes. Real fear. So I looked at them and asked the question I should have asked the moment I saw them. "What are you running from?" Jake froze. Mia looked away. And behind her on the floor, I noticed 2 suitcases shoved halfway under the dining table. A stack of unopened mail, a pile of legal papers sticking out of Mia's purse. Suddenly I understood. They weren't just hiding from responsibility. They were hiding from someone. Or something. I sat down and said in a calm voice, "Start talking." Jake swallowed hard. Then everything poured out. Mia had gotten into a huge fight with her landlord. Not just a normal argument. This one involved threats, warnings, and eventually police involvement. She'd been kicked out, fully evicted, and instead of facing the consequences, she convinced Jake to move into my house. While I was gone, Jake, being the overly loyal fool he can be, went along with it. Mia crossed her arms and said, "We had nowhere to go. Your house was empty." It made sense. I stared at her. "So your solution was to take it?" She didn't answer. Finally, I stood up, walked to the front door, and opened it. "You have 72 hours to leave. 3 days. Then I call the police." Jake took a shaky breath. Mia shouted, "You can't do that!" I stared her down. "I can, and I will." The next 72 hours were chaos. Jake mostly kept quiet, packing slowly. But Mia? She acted like she still owned the place. She cooked in my kitchen, took 2 showers a day, used my laundry. She even tried inviting a friend over until I stopped her. But the second night, Everything changed. There was a knock on the door. When I opened it, a tall man stood outside. Broad shoulders, cold eyes, leather jacket. The type of man who didn't need to raise his voice to be terrifying. "Is Mia here?" he asked. I didn't answer. I just stared back. He smirked. "Tell her I know she's here, and tell her time's up." Then he walked away. No yelling, no threats, just those 3 words, "Time's up." And it was somehow far worse than shouting. The next morning, Mia woke up screaming at Jake. She was crying, panicked, shaking. "He found us," she shouted. Jake was white as a ghost. My stomach dropped. This wasn't about eviction. This was about someone dangerous. Someone they owed, someone they crossed. I knocked on their room door and said, "You two are leaving, now." Jake didn't argue. Mia grabbed her bags without a word. For once, the arrogance was gone. Completely gone. I drove them straight to the police station. They filed a report, told the full truth, and Mia finally admitted she'd lied about almost everything. She had gotten herself into trouble with someone she never should have messed with. And Jake got dragged into it. Jake apologized to me over and over. He cried. And I believed him. Mia, well, Jake eventually cut her out of his life. And honestly, it was the best decision he ever made. As for me, I changed my locks again, installed cameras, reinforced everything. Because I learned something that week. Sometimes the biggest threat to your home isn't a stranger. It's the person you thought you could trust. And if you think this story was crazy, just wait until you hear what happened. The next time someone tried stepping foot into my house without permission, that one didn't end nearly this peacefully.